actually, yo, somebody hit the gritty on stream yesterday. Now Siski's hitting the OJ.
Last night, Siskiy told me to keep an eye out for whatever his pregame recording was. He wouldn't tell me what it is, and now I see why, because we were treated to the surprise of the Orange Justice here at Rise and Grind 2022.
I just got haunted by everything that happened in crew battles. There were the Fortnite dances, there was the sandbag jump scare, everything just happened. But this is something that we weren't treated to. Neither of these two were playing in the crew battles, not in many of the side brackets at all, but both players that when they focus on singles, boy, can they take it a long way. Definitely not surprised, but very happy to see that Ned is continuing that recent upwards trajectory of his, where pre-quarantine had a little bit of a struggle time, right? He was seeing a lot of people run away with the game, but has really found his stride with this Sephiroth, and he is leading the charge with this character. Oh my god!
We got interrupted a little bit by Siski's Orange Justice before we got to talk about Ned, but just last week, he's fresh off of a 9th place finish at one of the largest tournaments we've ever seen, Super Smash Con, with wins over people like Elegant. So, like, this guy is not a surprise to see in the Winners Top 8 qualifier, and Siski's got his work cut out for him if he wants to make his way into Winners Top 8, as we're already seeing here. He's down to a significant deficit against Ned to start this off, and Dark Samus, she doesn't like playing from behind, and Ned's just looking to make it even worse for him.
Oh wow! My goodness, the Shadow Flare takes it out. Ned, the perfectly timed poke with the forward air to give him a 3-stock to 1 lead, and he has really been giving Siskiy fits on this stage. There has been no room to set up the game that he wants to play. This Dark Samus has had nothing.
No, Siskiy likes 2 things. 1, using Charge Shot to play that mid to long range and forcing an opponent to guess, so that if they guess wrong, he can hit them with a 50-50 and then just blow them up. And 2, ledge trapping. We've yet to see either one of those, but we might finally get to see a ledge trap here and now. Ned goes for the regrab. Siskiy punishes it with the uppie off of the jump in, but it's still not enough for the KO. Ned holding on to this stock, using the wing. Finally, it's La Bola to take out the shot.
And that is exactly where Siskiy wants to put his opponent in this matchup, right? Against anybody with a really long disjoint game or a projectile game that can counter, right? Play a little bit faster than Dark Samus. You're trying to put your opponent at the ledge so that you can play that charge shot 50-50, exactly what Siskiy needed to get things started, but there's still a long road ahead to get the comeback in this game 1.
35% is not a bad start, but Ned's still holding on to this percent lead as well as the stock lead, and he's looking to close this out soon. He doesn't want that comeback to happen to him. 92%, the next big hit from Sephiroth should be enough to hit. It's not going to be back air, though.
Certainly not without the sweet spot right there. You have got to get that slice. And in comes the charge shot 1, the second getting kicked right out of progress. Ned back on stage, and the mix-up with that back air catching Siskiy with nowhere to go, and a 2-stock for game 1. Certainly a way to establish your own momentum.
And Ned played so reactively there towards the end, too. He came up off the ledge, saw Siskiy looking for something off of charge shot, and then he did an empty land. He was like, all right, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? All right, gotcha. Got the back air, takes down Siskiy in game number 1, but game number 2 on Siskiy's counter pick stage, I have zero doubt that we're going either to Town or to Kalos or to Hollow Bastion. I didn't see what it was, but it's going to be one of the longer stages so that, like you said, Siskiy can find the distance and not get outboxed by Ned like he was at the start of game number 1.
I like to phrase the neutral at times. It's an oversimplification,
it's
but
HB.
As we do go to Hollow Bastion, the neutral at times with Dark Samus can be a bit of it goes in the square hole, right? If you're not pressing charge shot, you might be doing something wrong in a lot of situations, and when you have a long stage, you can do that. The problem is on the smaller stage we saw in game 1, it's like trying to put everything in the square hole, but Sephiroth is Dikembe Mutomboing you before you can put it in there, just knocking it out of the way and saying, no, 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 as he carves his way in close. But now with the bigger stage, like you mentioned last, having a much harder time breaking in.
This is where Siskiy makes his money. This is where he's the most comfortable. This is where he loves to play, on the ledge against an opponent who has to pick a choice eventually. Certain characters, they have the ability to plank for a very long time off stage. Sephiroth can plank from time to time, but he's not all that good at it, especially against a character with the range of Dark Samus. So eventually, Ned's going to have to come up on stage. Eventually, he's going to have to pick something, and when he picks something, Siskiy's going to be more than ready to try and get the punish for it. He's got a pretty huge lead in terms of percents here in this game number 2, and there it is. That's going to be the stock.
Yeah, I mean, you give Siskiy the opportunity to set up those ledge traps, you're going to be in trouble. Like you said, that planking game, not as effective as it is in a whole lot of other matchups. But that being said, Ned still playing patiently really, really well, especially on stage. He is giving Siskiy a little bit of space to work with, but it's not enough to let him completely run away with things. However, Dark Samus will stay in the lead. Ned just can't get the solid openings.
Both of these guys actually have been struggling pretty hard with hitting those sour spots, the wet noodle hits that both of them sadly have at their disposal, and not being able to follow up on it with too much. So this is just seeming like it's turning into a match of stray hits. Game 1, Ned was so good about finding all those combo options, and he finds the sweet spot bare this time around, but he's going to have to find a whole lot more of those if he wants to bring this to a 2-0 lead.
I'm curious about the timing that allowed that back air to hit too, because we saw that one time as a mix-up with one short hop and then following up with a short hop back air after that Ned connected in that game 1 for a stock. That time it was straight up just the full short hop, but with no fast fall, mixed up Siskiy's timing just enough to hit that back air.
And we see an example of what makes Sephiroth so scary in matchups like this right there. Siskiy got the parry. He did everything right, and the only reward he got off of that was being able to reset neutral and back off. Like, you can't punish Sephiroth off of those parries unless you are a very special kind of character.
Yeah, it forces you to rethink the way that you're going to approach the game, because you can't say, okay, going to play to counter the defensive option and then strike back with one of my own. Yeah, Sephiroth can play at a long enough range that you really don't get to do that. You have to catch him on his back foot in the first place, and Ned is not giving Siskiy the chance.
Ned went so deep out there just to threaten Siskiy, but then recognizing that he wasn't going to be able to do anything without sacrificing his own stock thanks to his resources being depleted and Siskiy stalling so long up there, he was like, all right, I'm heading back to stage and I'll just trap you there. Great grab by Ned, regains control of the stage, and he's once again chasing Siskiy all the way out.
Oh, and the tech on hitting that up B, the screw attack, actually giving Ned the opportunity to air dodge on stage and get a ledge trap where Siskiy was most likely going to mash something like neutral get up to get back on stage immediately. He recognized it, but Sephiroth's tall frame doing him no favors here as he once again attempts to circumvent the ledge trap. Getting caught in his movement will leave the game even at one stock apiece.
Ned shaking his head a little bit there. He's obviously none too happy about losing the stock to that. He definitely thought, especially with Wing, that he would have a lot more mileage with that second stock, because we've already seen examples of that in the previous game. He got so much mileage off of high percent stocks, and since he's not been afforded the opportunity to do that here, Siskiy's going to look to clutch this up.
However, here comes the big damage from Ned again. Siskiy's combo DI has gotten a whole lot better as this game has gone along, but Ned is still out-damaging him per hit for the most part. And that's something that you can't have happen when you're playing against a comboable character as a Samus, because you need to be letting that advantage state extend for, I mean, almost minutes at a time, right?
Wing is out. That's a huge threat to Siskiy here because he's been making so much use of the stray hits, the chip damage, so to speak, against Ned. But now that Wing is out, Ned is going to risk it all for a deep Octa Slash and send Siskiy straight into the blast zone as he tries to recover with a little bit of a lack of resources.
That is Ned in his purest form, right? That is still objectively the optimal thing to do, but it is going to put the fear into your heart, and it is going to make everybody ooh and ah a little bit. He is a player who has a flair for the fashionable, but he's going to be fashionably in sync with what he theoretically, and I'm going to put air quotes on this, should be doing. But that was just a beautiful way to end that game, too.
Gonna go into game 3. Siskiy needs to clutch up here and now, or he'll find himself down in the loser's bracket, not somewhere that the Spanish Giant wants to be.
He has got to slow down Ned. The stage control has been such a problem for Siskiy. Ned has been using that quick movement from Sephiroth, and especially the Nair, to throw out that safe hitbox that Siskiy's going to have a hard time punishing. Like we were talking about, Sephiroth on shield, not the easiest to get a leg up on. And Siskiy just has not been able to stop him from sitting underneath this platform with that big sword and stuffing every opportunity Siskiy has to get things started.
Ned's mix game in short-range situations, in scramble situations, has been bar none some of the best that I've not only seen from him, but some of the best that I've seen from any player. We called out like the empty land back air that he did in game number 1. We saw a different version of it in game number 2, and now he's also mixing grabs into the equation because Siskiy has gotten wise to it and started holding shield for longer. It seems that like the layers to these mix-ups when Siskiy is in close range and stuck are never-ending.
He is just so good at intuitively understanding how you're feeling as a match goes on, right? He is really, really good at adapting to the way that you're reacting to him as a player, not necessarily the matchup or how you're using your tools, but just you as a person. He's so good at catching on to those habits. Game goes even right now, though, as he struggles to get this stock done, but we've seen a lot of stocks off of reversals from Ned, and he barely misses his input for the back air, almost pays for it with his life.
And thanks to the range that Ned's been playing at throughout this entire set, we've actually seen a stunning lack of up B out of shield from Siskiy. It's typically the main option for Dark Samus in disadvantage or in scramble situations, just as a, I'm going to push my escape button and get the hell out of here. But since Sephiroth plays at that sword tips range, he just doesn't have the chance to make use of it. And Ned's kind of abusing it. Siskiy, though, he comes right off the Angel platform swinging, takes out that stock to bring us right back to even.
I think one of the things I'm noticing about that gameplay from Ned, too, is that in situations where he has time to think, he does tend to overthink it. He gets some analysis paralysis. We've seen a couple of times where Siskiy has given him some really big openings, and then Ned just doesn't execute on it correctly. And it's when he is in those intense scrambles where he has to rely on nothing but his wits and reactions that he is doing his best, and that includes these ledge traps.
Oh, he's going to catch the Octo Slash with the scoop hitbox of it, goes deep off stage to try and punish, and actually the Rising Blade Rush does hit him. Siskiy able to recover, though, if only just barely.
That great double jump out, too, giving Siskiy a narrow amount of space to work with. And you can see he is just hunting for one big hit. I'm not going to call it desperation just yet, but you have got to find something big to make a statement and put your feet on solid ground upon. Say, this is the moment where I turn everything around.
And this might just be it for Siskiy. Ned recovering back to stage, gets caught by the down B, neutral B. Bola rears its head once again, and down goes Ned's stock. For the first time in a while, we see Siskiy with a stock lead.
And now he gets to play at center stage. Now it's Ned who has to fight him for that. Siskiy is not obligated to do something about that range that Ned is playing at, so as long as the Dark Samus stands under that platform, you've got a good chance at shutting down all of Ned's game plans. But step one right now, get back off the ledge, and you gave him a big opening with that up B. Seen it a couple times. This time, Ned does get the capitalization.
Siskiy did such a great job off stage of stalling with the down B to make sure that the flare wasn't going to be a problem with him, but then he threw it all away once he got back onto the stage. He got a little bit impatient, tried to pull the trigger on the up B early, and paid for it with his life thanks to that up smash by Ned. He's still got the percent lead, though, so he's still going to be able to continue pushing this. Ned looking to bring it back, just playing this long range game, and this is something that I was like, in my head trying to figure out how to articulate, but Sephiroth is uniquely able to punish a lot of stuff that Samus usually gets away with. Stuff like the fade back fair on shield or the nair on shield. Most characters don't have a long enough range just out of immediate burst to be able to hit Samus as she fades back away. Sephiroth does not have that problem and is able to get so much off of it. I thought he was going to go for the reverse Octa Slash again, but instead opts for the safe option. Brings us back to stage 4%, separating the two players.
Does get caught with that jump, though, forwarder, giving Siskiy the ledge trap setup again. This is exactly what Dark Samus needs, and that's exactly what Spain wants to see from their number one. Siskiy gets one on the board, and Europe stays alive on the winner's side of top 64.
The first step to a set win, the first step to a reverse 3-0 at that is game 3, and Siskiy just took that first step. Now he's got to do it 2 more times against Ned, but with how down to the wire that game was and how all the games have been, I worry for him because he's got to play flawlessly. One more mistake that game would have been curtains. One extra mistake, that's all it takes, and Ned is going to tear you apart for it. So will we see Siskiy be able to play that flawless game against Ned Sephiroth as we once again run it back to Hollow Bastion?
I don't think that Ned feels particularly uncomfortable on this stage. He does have his own choice to make as far as where we end up playing, but Hollow Bastion, he's looked good on every single one of those games. Just a few key whiffs is what opened the door for Siskiy to take control of the game. You know that Ned is going to have to consider the reason that he won those first 2 games is because he stayed in control that whole time, and Siskiy, not lacking on those resources, able to save that double jump, does not lose that first stock expeditiously.
That's one of the things that Samus in general is so phenomenal about, using those down Bs off stage to save the jump, using the air dodge to save the jump until the last possible moment. That way they can have it as the extra mix-up should somebody go looking for a stock off stage. Siskiy, he's going to continue to make use of that to stay alive, but he's going to need some damage of his own. zone, or else this will quickly spiral out of control like you were talking about.
These charge shots just not finding connection at those mid to long ranges. Ned playing a character maneuverable enough to not put himself in a terrible position when those come out. Siskiy finding some trouble landing out of disadvantage too at times. Playing a floaty character like Dark Samus, it can be an issue, and I think we have to talk about the fact that Ned hasn't gotten the craziest advantage states is down to the fact that Siskiy as a player plays that disadvantage so intelligently.
No, games 1 and 2, Ned was finding so much off of every single straight hit that he got, but Siskiy has since wised up to how this character is playing an advantage. He tries to read the jump from Ned out of disadvantage, and the fact that he misses with the charge shot, no matter. He's going to find the nair nonetheless, but Ned fires back immediately. The back air connects, and we once again, just like in the previous game, find ourselves 2 stocks apiece, 0% on the board. It does not get more even than this, Kimona.
The way that these two have been adapting back and forth as well. Remember, a lot of these games have been particularly close, and Siskiy only getting better as the set goes on. Back air is connecting at the ledge. Ned suddenly having trouble maneuvering around this hail of projectiles.
Oh, gets caught by the back air, though. Siskiy just goes a little bit too high, looks for Ned's extra jump, and pays the price for it in resetting back to neutral, but he's not all that unhappy about it because neutral is where this man thrives. The charge shot, the neutral B, one of the best in the business at making use of it, and he's making Ned pay the price. A great air dodge to avoid the up air. We've seen him lose a couple stocks to that as well, and it's yet another nair connection to bring Ned onto his final stock of game number 4.
The fact that it's been so many reversals out of disadvantage has been so key for Siskiy. I feel like as the set has gone on, Ned's gotten a little bit more impatient as the charge shot bypassing the scintilla and giving Siskiy even more damage to have Ned to think about. It keeps on climbing last.
It's just going up and up and up. It's boarded the elevator. Excuse me, I'm so hyped that I'm losing my touch on the English language as Siskiy is looking to bring us to game 5, but maybe an ill-advised air dodge there is going to put him deep off stage, and Ned, with the benefit of the extra double jump of wing, is going to chase.
A lot of the Midwest hopes and dreams ride along the back of this Sephiroth and that big sword. Ned is trying to make their dreams come true against one of Europe's finest. Look at the damage rack up again. Phenomenal play in the disadvantage by Siskiy, choosing options that aren't get out of jail free cards. He is having to pick them precisely, and Ned just falling victim to that.
Siskiy just making liberal use of charge shot to force Ned to pick an option. Even if the charge shot doesn't connect, well, he has to jump, he has to shield, he has to do something, and Siskiy is right there in his face, ready to follow up off of it. But Ned, he's swinging at a disadvantage. 2 hits might be all that it takes. I thought he might have gone for the Octa Slash, the be-all, end-all. He's got an extra game to play with thanks to the early lead that he's had, so he might have gone for a risk along those lines if it meant closing out the set a little bit earlier.
These two are now playing at the top of their potential, but Ned shuts down the rising momentum from Siskiy, and he will rise out of his chair with a 3-1 victory, not only with a great win under his belt against the best Samus in the world, but also booking himself a ticket into winner's side top 8.